ॐ तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं शरवणमङ्गलं शिवदाततं भुवि गणन्ति भूरिदा जना. Your words are like nectar, bring life to scorched souls. They are praised by poets and remove all sin. They are auspicious to hear, wonderful and exalted. Those who spread these words throughout the world are truly giving souls. Welcome, everyone, to our class on the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. We're on the chapter Bankim Chandra, and we started this last time. It's the date is Saturday, December 6th, 1884, and we are on page 670, towards the top of the page. Now, you'll remember from last time that Bankim was one of the great authors, playwrights, the literary figures of the time, and he had come to Adhar's house. Adhar was one of the main devotees of Sri Ramakrishna. He had some desire to meet him. By this time, in the 1884, that many people knew about Sri Ramakrishna, and they knew that important people were going to him. So already Girish is going, a great literary figure. And so this Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, he had some desire to see Sri Ramakrishna, and everything gets off on the wrong foot because he's a little bit of a sarcastic type, a little bit of a wise guy. It's very hard to tell if he's being actually rude or if he thinks he's being smart. Somewhere in between, yeah. And Sri Ramakrishna is not very happy with some of the remarks that he makes, and really, whether it's in jest or whether serious, is not the way to come to a holy man. And not the types of questions and remarks to make and everything. A little too informal, a little too casual, yeah. So Sri Ramakrishna lets him have it a little bit. So he's very strong with him, but sweet also. And at the end, we get the impression that this Bankim took it rather well, and that Sri Ramakrishna also recognizes that he's a person of substance somehow on some level. So anyway, we'll get to that end of it. So the last thing that we read was that Sri Ramakrishna said tenderly to Bankim, "Please don't take offense at my words." Then the Bankim said, "Sir, I haven't come here to hear sweet things." Now, probably he wasn't expecting to hear such strong things. I don't think he came he came to evaluate him. I don't think to challenge him exactly, but it comes off like that a little bit. So anyhow, this is the way things started with their conversation. Master to Bankim. Lust and gold alone is the world. That alone is Maya. Now, when we talk about the world, when we talk about Maya, do you have the Bengali there? Shankshar. Yeah, this word, yeah. There are many words in Bengali, Sanskrit, that have two different meanings. And it means the world, but it means the social life, social world also. It's not world like this physical universe. And Maya also doesn't have to mean some inscrutable power that belongs to Brahman. It can mean attachment. It can mean living in a false kind of way. So this is really what he's trying to say, that because of this tendency toward lust and greed and pride and anger and everything, that we get attached. And this is worldly life. What is worldly life other than running after things and getting fooled by things? So this is really what it means. This lust and gold alone is the world. That alone is Maya. Because of it, you cannot see or think of God. After the birth of one or two children, husband and wife should live as a brother and sister and talk only of God. Now, Thakur says this in many places. This is another thing we have to understand, that the householder disciples that came to Sri Ramakrishna were extraordinary people. He won't give this advice to the typical householder. He'll tell them practice moderation and everything, but really, those who feel that God realization, spiritual life is the only real goal of life, that they should be able to live that type of life. But it has to be a husband and wife exactly on the same page. Otherwise, many problems come. This we've seen this, and there are very virtuous, righteous couples like that. Yeah, it's very wonderful to see. So after the birth of one or two children, husband and wife should live as brother and sister and talk only of God. Then both their minds will be drawn to God, and the wife will be a help to the husband on the path of spirituality, and vice versa. And we have to always remember he's talking to a group of men. None can taste divine bliss without giving up his animal feeling. The devotee should pray to God to help him get rid of this feeling. It must be a sincere prayer. God is our inner controller. He will certainly listen to our prayer if it is sincere. Yeah, we have this wonderful conception of the indwelling presence of God as the witness, as the inner guide, inner controller, which we experience ourselves. We experience this feeling that everything that we hear or think or emotions that we have are being witnessed somehow. Now, the Jnani may say by the higher self. The devotee will say this is the present divine presence within, God dwelling within. If we have that conception, then everything, every prayer will automatically be heard. Every thought will be heard. Every experience will be heard. So this idea that when we pray to God, it's not a God with some in heaven in some place. Really, the conception of the personal God in Vedanta is the indwelling presence. Yeah, yeah. So then we know that it is being heard, and the for the devotee, God dwelling within isn't simply some impersonal awareness. That there's some sweetness there, that there's some sense what we call conscience, some sense of right and wrong, some sense of finding inner peace. So really, that personal aspect is there for the devotee. The jnani may not care for these things, but from a devotional point of view. But the prayer has to be sincere. Now we can say that whether it's sincere or not sincere, it'll be heard. But will there be any transformative power to the prayer if it's not sincere? This is the other conception of prayer, is that it's not so much that it's answered, but the sincerity of the prayer has a transformative power. So if we pray for devotion automatically, the devotion will grow. If we pray for sincerity, if we pray for love, if we pray for unselfishness, then these things should automatically develop within us through the power of prayer itself. The devotee will always feel through the grace of God dwelling within. It's just a different angle, a different way of looking at it. And gold. So the first thing he says, this comedy concept. The second thing is gold. This means any type of longing for possessions. Yeah. Any type of greed, we can say, was represented by gold. And gold, sitting on the bank of the Ganges, below the Panchavati. I used to say, rupee is clay and clay is rupee. Then I threw both into the Ganges. Now, it's not that Thakur didn't understand that clay is useless and rupee can buy things. He wasn't a fool. He knew that. What he was saying was that his mind will not be disturbed or attracted by one more than the other. There's no temptation for him. This is the main idea, that he's can rise above that. That we see gold or we see money and we think, what can we buy and how can we enjoy it? But for somebody who's practicing this, then they should feel that my mind is not, well-being of my mind, my happiness, my sadness is not determined by anything external at all. So we can look upon them as the same. Now, Bankim will take it the wrong way, of course. Anytime Thakur makes this statement, immediately people say, "Oh, you threw money in. Money is a sacred thing. You threw it in the water. How much good it can be used?" That'll be the immediate reaction. They don't understand the point that he's trying to make. This is actually the verse from the Gita. He who sees a stone, a clump of earth, and gold as the same. We could say also just a combination of the five elements, however we look at it. But really, for our personal use, that we won't be tempted by one, and we won't. They'll be the same for us. Anyhow, so this will be the reaction. Bankim, indeed. So now he's very bold with Sri Ramakrishna. Yeah, indeed, money is clay, sir. If you have a few pennies, you can help the poor. If money is clay, then a man cannot give in charity or do good to others. Now another button is pressed. So he's hitting all these buttons for Sri Ramakrishna that Thakur has been hearing this year after year after year because of his close contact with the members of the Brahmo Samaj, who were so interested in social service work, and Western educated Bengalis that come to him, and the influence of the British and all of that. So this is something that he hears. He's heard. He has to deal with this a lot. Master debunking charity, doing good. How dare you say you can do good to others? Now, this whole section, there's a long section about this. It's confusing, and I have a little difficulty with all of this. And M had a big problem with all of this, and some of Thakur's direct disciples had a little problem with all of this when Swamiji put so much emphasis on helping others. Now, at the same time, Swamiji also he gave a lecture with one of the chapters in Karma Yoga that we don't help the world, we only help ourselves. So there's an angle to look at this that we can say, yes, there's a truth to it. But for me, at least, I try to look at this in such a way that he's not saying, don't try to do anything good. Mostly he's saying, don't take pride in doing these things. It's mostly because of that. But anyhow, we'll read the whole thing and then we'll see. Charity, doing good. How dare you say you can do good to others? Man struts about so much, but if one pours foul water into his mouth when he is asleep, he doesn't even know it. His mouth overflows with it. So his point is that we do such a small amount of good to other people when we spend all of our lives selfishly doing good for ourselves, and the tiny thing that we do for others, we're very proud. We think it's such a wonderful thing. Where are his boasting, his vanity, his pride then? A sannyasi must give up lust and gold. He cannot accept it anymore. One must not swallow one's own spittle. This is a phrase that Thakur used to use. Yeah, you spit something out of your mouth, and then you pick it up and you put it back in your mouth again. Yeah, if a sannyasi, he renounces the world and has no connection with any family life or anything, and then gives up that sannyasa and becomes a worldly person or a householder again. He says it's like that. That's the example he's using. When a sannyasi gives something to another, he knows that it is not himself who gives. So now we can see that he's not saying don't give something to other people, but no, that God dwelling within, the worship of others, through the grace of God, we're able to do it, have a different attitude towards it. When a sannyasi gives something to another, he knows that it is not himself who gives. Kindness belongs to God alone. How can a man claim to it? So he's not saying don't be kind. He's saying if we have kindness within us, this is through the grace of God, the divine presence within. We should understand it and have a little humility when we do any act of kindness. Kindness belongs to God alone. How can a man lay claim to it? Charity depends on the will of Rama. A true sannyasi renounces lust and gold, both mentally and outwardly. He who eats no molasses must not even keep molasses about. If he does, and yet tells others not to eat it, they won't listen to him. So anyhow, he's just saying that the sannyasi has to lead an ideal life, or else keep his mouth shut. Can't go about preaching to other people without living that life. A household holder, of course, needs money, so he's going to agree a little bit that the sannyasi can live without money in a country like India because there's respect and understanding for people who renounce everything and live on alms. They'll always find some place to live. You try to do it in other places, it'll be difficult, other countries or societies. And a householder can't depend on other people. Householder has to look after his or her own family. Yeah.
How to distinguish between Daya and Maya?
Daya and Maya. Yeah, this, of course, is another big topic. That the question is how to Thakur distinguish between these two. Uh, Maya means attachment. Maya means attachment. It, but through love. So the example he gives is the love that we feel for our near and dear ones. So the Maya is not a bad thing, but it binds us a little bit. It's not a bad thing at all. We want to have this feeling that everyone belongs to our near and dear ones. They belong to us, uh, but we'll suffer a little bit with that feeling because they may go their own way. Anything may happen, but the main better than not having love for anybody. But the Daya, Thakur says, is that same feeling for all creatures equally. Maya, it brings attachment, it brings bondage, and it brings separation between those who we consider our very own and those we consider to be strangers. Yeah, so that's that main distinction. Maya has a type of love, but with attachment, and only with those that we consider to be our very own. That means people from our family, from our community, from our religion, from our country, whatever it is. Or there others can be strangers. We won't care about them so much. That's that idea of Maya. And Daya, we don't make those distinctions. We love everybody equally as far as possible. It's never completely possible. We'll always love our own mother. Will always love her own child more than somebody else's child. It's natural. Yeah. But through this Maya, we expand things through Maya into Daya, into compassion. The other things we renounce. There's a Maya, we just have to get rid of the bondage of attachment and the limitations of that love. A householder, of course, needs money, for he has a wife and children. He should save up to feed them. They say that the bird and the sannyasi should not provide for the future. But the mother bird brings food in her mouth for her chicks, So she too provides. A householder needs money. He has to support his family. Yeah. So he recognizes that. He's not saying that everyone should be like the sannyasi and pay no attention to money. Then it's irresponsible. If a householder is a genuine devotee, he performs his duties without attachment. So this is the main thing, that anybody uh, can perform duties in the world. Most people do it uh, just because they know their option. They may not do it happily. They may force themselves to get up in the morning and go to their work and do their job and everything, and they may be miserable even. But those who have this right attitude, that everything is part of dharma, everything is done as an offering, everything is done uh, without any type of attachment, looking upon ourselves as somehow unattached to all of it, above all of it, beyond all of it, and yet engaged in all of it. If a householder is a genuine devotee, he performs his duties without attachment. He surrenders the fruit of his work to God. Main teaching of Bhagavad Gita. Main teaching of Gita. His gain or loss, his pleasure or pain. No calculating that we'll offer this, we won't offer that. Everything, good or bad. Now, there are some who say we shouldn't offer bad things, but if we do everything sincerely, whether it's a failure or success, we can offer it if it's done sincerely. And day and night he prays for devotion and for nothing else. This is called motiveless work. So, motiveless work means no selfish motive, no ulterior motive. It doesn't mean that there's no motive at all. We won't do anything unless there's a motive to do it, either for the sake of the family or for society, or to achieve some type of legitimate goal. If we're uh, doing social work, social service work, and we're trying to help other people, can we really say it doesn't make any difference to me whether I find a shelter for this homeless person tonight or that homeless person sleeps on the street? No, we want to be successful. Our motive is to provide a place for them and everything. Yeah, but we know that ultimately, if we do our best and it's out of our hands, if we're successful, we say thank God. We feel proud about it or anything. So we have a motive, but not a selfish motive or an ulterior. Ulterior motive means a secondary motive. Yeah, I want to find a cure for cancer, but I also want to become famous, and I also want to make a lot of money. Uh, that's the ulterior motive. Main motive is good. Yeah, we would hope someone will find a cure and get rid of this cancer, but uh, so that's okay. That doesn't impinge upon this idea of motiveless work. It's got to be unselfish.
But Swami, you can't control it.
No, we can't control it. We can control things to a large extent. Say we're working in a lab, we're doing some type of experiment. We can be very, very careful. Someone could be very sloppy, and everything will get contaminated. They won't be able to get good results or anything. The scientists, really good scientists, with good research and well laid out plan and looking at everything else, when they do some type of experiment, they may be 99% sure that the results will be good.
No,
Yeah.
we can't control the secondary motive.
The secondary motive we can control.
Please say more.
Yeah, we have to control that. Yeah, if we say we can't control it, that's because of our natural tendencies. Yeah, no, you're right in that sense. Thakur himself will say that a little bit of ego will come, whether we know it or not. Where it comes from, we can't say. Whether we like it or not, if we engage ourselves in too much work without any spiritual practice, then some little sense of ego. But that's in our hands to monitor that and try to control it. Yeah. The results of our work, we can't be sure that they'll come out the way we want them to. But those who are unselfish people and those who are not attached, you'll find that the mind won't be very much disturbed whether successful or not successful. Disappointed, yes, a little bit, but not depressed and everything. Yeah. This is called motiveless work, the performance of duty without attachment, without too much of expectation also. Yeah. The sannyasi too must do all his work in a spirit of detachment. Yeah, a householder and sannyasi are in the same boat exactly. The sannyasi is equally, if not more, uh, open to the possibility of ego and pride. Absolutely. Those who start getting a name for themselves, getting a lot of disciples, getting a lot of hits on the internet. That unless they're very strong and very sincere and grounded in spiritual life, it's very hard not to have a big head, not to get some feeling of pride and everything. So equally, the sannyasi has to be very cautious, especially when people are always praising them and bowing down before them and everything. Yeah, they start to believe their press clippings, how wonderful we are and everything. So a sannyasi too must do all his work in that spirit of detachment, even with regard to spiritual practice. Even that, on some level, we do as an offering. Yeah, and whether we're successful or not successful, the mind shouldn't be disturbed. So he does all his work in a spirit of detachment, but he has no worldly duties to attend to like a householder. Yeah, these worldly duties will revolve around family and career. And we don't have to worry about those things. If a householder gives in charity in a spirit of detachment, he is really doing good to himself and not to others. Okay, this is the tough one. I myself have a little problem with this idea that if we give in charity and we're told that you're giving in charity, it'll benefit you, it won't benefit anybody else. Will we still give in charity? Yeah. If we go to serve in a soup kitchen and they say you're not really going to benefit anybody there, but it'll be good for you. You'll come back, you'll feel, oh, I did such a wonderful thing. Will we do it? No. So I think we have to, and Swamiji, see, he accepted this idea and still engaged so much in social. So we have to tweak it a little bit. I do at least. So that otherwise, who will do anything if we feel that we can be of a little bit of benefit and service to others? Yeah. I mean, Swamiji wanted us to dedicate our whole lives to the welfare of others. Yeah. So not that we're going to change the world, not that everything will be successful, but I think we can all point to other people who have been helpful to us in our lives, right? Even a simple kind word. Buddha ready to take his own life to save an animal. Yeah, Swamiji ready to be born again to help a single person. So, but it's all geared to get away from this idea of pride, to be proud. This is my understanding of it. But as I said before, that when Swamiji instituted this social service work, that several of the direct disciples pointed to these things that Thakur said, that you can't really help the world, that you'll benefit yourself. Okay, that's all right. I'm not doing it to benefit myself. But I mean, if that happens, okay, it happens. But if I'm doing it and it's not of any use to somebody else, why do it? Where's our motive? That was the good motive. At least that has to be there a little bit. Anyway, so let's see what else he says. He is really doing good to himself and not to others. It is God alone that he serves. Okay, now, this is the other way to look at it, that we're not helping another person, because God dwells within that person. We should stop trying to look at it as simple, other individuals, God dwelling within. If we can be of some help to someone, then this is what Thakur says, then this is to be looked upon as worship, not simply charitable work or something like that. That we have this great opportunity to worship God through service of others. This was Swamiji's doctrine of practical Vedanta and the living God. The living God. So can we help the living God? If we really think that there's a God standing before us, but still trapped in a body that's suffering, so we want to get rid of that suffering. We can look at it from that point of view also. So it is God alone that he serves, God who dwells in all beings. And when he serves God, he is really doing good to himself and not to others. That thinking of people as individuals. Yeah. Anyhow, this is when I first read these things, I said, really? Yeah. That everybody likes to feel that we can be a little bit of help to somebody in our own small little way, even a kind word to somebody. Yeah. But it has to be the attitude that we have is the main thing. If one thus serves God through all beings, not through men alone, but through animals and other living beings. So he's not saying don't do these things. If he does, as in other living beings as well, if he doesn't seek name and fame or heaven after death, if he doesn't seek any return from those he serves, so he's admitting that we can be serving other people, looking upon them as God. If he can carry on his work of service in this spirit, then he performs truly selfless work without attachment. Yeah. So, this Jivedaya, this is a story we hear over and over and over again, but it's important. When Thakur was talking about these different teachings of Chaitanya Deva, and one was this compassion to living beings, and Thakur went into some ecstatic mood, repeating it, Jivedaya, Jivedaya. That was the way his mind would capture things, or things would capture his mind. Then he came down and he said, who are you little creatures to show compassion to anyone? It's not compassion, it's love. Seeing God dwelling within all beings, that you're privileged to be able to serve others that way. Swamiji heard that, and he said, this is such a profound statement that really formed the basis for all of this social service work, this living God idea that we find in Swamiji's teachings and everything. And we know when Thakur went on pilgrimage 2 different times with Mathur Babu, that he would get to some place where they're suffering from famine, and he said, I'm not leaving here unless you do help these people. At least give them a good meal, give them a cloth, a few rupees, something like that. Yeah. Through such selfless work, he does good to himself. This is called karma yoga. This too is a way to realize God, but it is very difficult and not suited to the Kali Yuga. Now, again, very often Thakur will say this Jnana Yoga not suited to Kali Yuga, this Karma Yoga not suited to the Kali Yuga, Raja Yoga not suited to the Kali Yuga, there's a Bhakti Yoga. But the way I understand it is if we try to do it as an exclusive path, we simply say, yes, King Janaka, through karma alone he achieved the highest. The Thakur will say that unless you have some devotional attitude, unless you do some spiritual practice, you won't be able to do it. The ego will creep in. So this karma yoga, of course, we have to practice karma yoga every second of the day. That even with our spiritual practice, we have to utilize this idea that no attachment to the fruits and no selfish motive for anything, and everything is an offering. But everything is an offering. This will fall under the Bhakti Yoga equally. So what Thakur is saying, simply this I won't be attached, this type of karma yoga, that it needs to be supplemented with the other yogas. And remember, he's talking to Bankim. He's talking to somebody who's convinced that, and many of the others, the goal of life is to help other people, as if they don't need help themselves. But this idea of social reform that the Brahmos believed in so much. As I said before, I don't know if he was exactly a Brahmo, but he had that same mindset, you can say. Therefore, I say, he who works in such a detached spirit, who is kind and charitable, benefits only himself. Now, again, this is a very tough thing. We hope that will benefit other people also to a certain extent. But this idea is that this is a worship of God dwelling within others. If we keep that in mind, then this idea of helping other people, then who are we to help somebody else? To keep that idea in mind. Helping others, doing good to others, this is the work of God alone, who for men has created the sun and moon, the father and mother, fruits, flowers, and corn. The love that you see in parents is God's love. So not that we shouldn't have that love, we should recognize the source of that. He has given it to them, God's love, to preserve his creation. The compassion that you see in the kind-hearted is God's compassion. So main thing is that we don't take credit for it and be boastful about it. Oh, how compassionate I am. Oh, you should have seen how many people I served this morning at the soup kitchen. The compassion that you see in the kind-hearted is God's compassion. He has given it to them to protect the helpless. So this is why Swamiji said, if you serve somebody else, that the person that receives should stand up with full dignity. The person who gives should bow down before the other person. We do it, we expect the other person to bow down before us and be so thankful. The Swamiji says should be reversed. Whether you are charitable or not, he will have his work done somehow or other. Yeah, now this also we have to remember, that I may think everything depends upon me. Someone else will do it. Yeah. Now, are there not people who have done extraordinary things that we praise so much that maybe if they hadn't done it, many people would have stuff? Yes. Yeah. But on the other hand, we don't know. Somebody else could have come along and done a better job. We don't know. Whether you are charitable or not, he will have his work done somehow or other. Nothing can stop his work. What then is man's duty? What else can it be? It is just to take refuge in God and to pray to him with a yearning heart for his vision. So this goes back again to this Thakur's idea. This is the real goal of life. And we have to always remember this tendency that Thakur had to balance things out. He'll overemphasize this because they have too much emphasis on social service work. That's why I look upon these things as a corrective. You know, if you get offline a little bit, then you can't just try to keep it to the center. You have to try to do it all the way over, then it'll get back to the middle. Corrective. So he may be overemphasizing one thing in order to restore balance. Those who don't care for anything but their spiritual practice and neglect family and everything, they'll get a big scolding from him. You have your duty in the world. You have to look after husband or wife or children or whatever. So it's kind of corrective. Shambhu said to me, the Shambhu Malik was one of the great devotees and helpers for Sri Ramakrishna. It is my desire to build a large number of hospitals and dispensaries. Not a bad desire. Not a bad desire, but some pride is behind it. His name will be there, and people will know what a wonderful thing the Shambhu did. Thus, I can do much good to the poor. I said to him, yes, that is not bad, if you can do it in a detached spirit. But to be detached is very difficult unless you sincerely love God. So this is what I was just saying, that simply doing good works and everything, some pride will come, some ego will come, some feeling that yes, I did it. Yeah. Some feeling that I should get some respect for it, some gratitude for it, and everything. Those who do it in the proper spirit as a type of worship, then of course they'll be benefited. Yeah. So when Swamiji instituted this social service work of the order, it was both for the benefit of the monks and for the country. He did it mostly in India, of course. This Jagad Hitayacha, Jagad Hita. Thakur, if he hears that from somebody else, he'll say, who are you to talk about the welfare of the world? And yet, uh, everything that Swamiji did was at least his understanding, which I also believe, in perfect conformity with Thakur's ideas. And this would got the stamp of approval from Holy Mother, because some of the others would even question it. And of course, we know some of the other direct disciples, and Holy Mother would say the work that Naren is doing is Thakur's work. Yeah, she understood. She had no problem with any of this. So Thakur said to Shambhu, yes, that is not bad if you can do it in a detached spirit. But to be detached is very difficult unless you sincerely love God. And further, if you entangle yourself in many activities, you will be attached to them in a way unknown to yourself. And I really think that this was his either criticism or warning to the Brahmo Samaj members, that they put so much emphasis on these ideas of marriageable age and the remarriage of widows and caste and abolishment, those ideas. You may think you have no motive behind your work, but perhaps there has already grown a desire for fame and the advertising of your name. Yeah, even those who give things anonymously, they have greater pride and ego, because everyone will know, I gave it anonymously. They'll make sure. Yeah. You see that building? You won't find my name on it. I was so unselfish. I paid for the whole thing without putting my name on it. Then again, if you are entangled in too many activities, the pressure of them will make you forget God. I also said to him, Shambhu, let me ask you one thing. If God appears before you, will you want him or a number of hospitals and dispensaries? Yeah, he used to say it's the final moment if God comes. If one realizes God, one doesn't enjoy anything else. One who has tasted syrup of sugar candy cannot enjoy a drink made from common treacle. Now, the other thing, when Swamiji instituted the social service work, relief work, and everything, he understood the perfect incapacity of those who would join the order to do spiritual practice the way the direct disciples did. That if they didn't have some positive work to do, that they would waste their time. That the next generation, and many, of course, wonderful God realized souls came out of the second generation, but just in general, that the monks that were to come later, that if you told them do spiritual practice 24 hours a day, they wouldn't be able to do it. The direct disciples could do it, and they did it during that one period, especially after Thakur passed away, until the work of the order was started. Almost all of them did that, but for a whole lifetime. So this work of the order is for the benefit of the monks also. Those who build hospitals and dispensaries and get pleasure from that, this ego, this pride, get pleasure from that, are no doubt good people. Now, they may get pleasure also because they see This is helping others. There's other people, they had no hospital to go to, so now they have nearby hospital. They're no doubt good people. This is what he said about Vidyasagar. He said the work that he does is good work, it's sattvic work. But if he knew the gold was hidden beneath, then he would search for that. So those who build hospitals and dispensaries and get pleasure from that are no doubt good people, but they are of a different type. That a different type from who? From those who care for God and God alone. Those who long for God realization. He who is a real devotee of God seeks nothing but God. If he finds himself entangled in too much work, he earnestly prays, Lord, be gracious and reduce my work. My mind, which should think of thee day and night, has been wasting its power. It thinks of worldly things alone. Pure soul devotees are in a class by themselves. They cannot have real love of God, or you cannot have real love of God, unless you know that God alone is real and all else illusory. Now, the Thakur, illusory for him means transitory. Yeah, you cannot have real love of God unless you know that the world is impermanent, only of 2 days' existence, while its creator alone is real and eternal. Janaka and sages like him worked in the world at the command of God. Yeah, this Janaka was a king. Mithila, at that time, it was a big kingdom. It was a very important place. And he had his kingly duties to look after. And he was considered to be a great God-realized soul. Whether it's the same Janaka from the Upanishads and Janaka from Ramayana, we don't know. Janaka of the Upanishads was really a realized soul who would give instructions to the Yajnavalkya and others like that. But in any event, he was felt to be one of the rare examples. Janaka and others, and it's a short list of those who attain the highest realization through work alone. Thakur disagreed a little bit. He said how much of austerities he did earlier. So even for Janaka, he says that it has to go hand in hand. Unless we, through meditation, get centered, unless we really feel that the ego is, first of all, it has no real substance to it. Second of all, it's the greatest obstacle in spiritual life. That we'll have a different attitude towards work.
It appears, Swamiji, Thakur tries to put emphasis on bhakti all the time.
Yes, Thakur put emphasis on bhakti, but when we read his teachings, he gives equal emphasis to this Jnana Yoga. All of these ideas, everything we read about Brahman and Shakti and everything, this is all really metaphysics, we can say. This is all for us to analyze what is the real nature of the self. So we can't pin him down too much. And this idea that the bhakti yoga is easier and more suitable to the majority of people, this is a very old idea. This is emphasized so much in the Bhagavad Gita also. So not just him. And this Jnana Yoga traditionally was reserved for sadhus, for sannyasis, and even then, only the sannyasis of this Shankaracharya Sampradaya. The sannyasis of the other orders, most of the others are Vaishnava Sampradayas. They would have more of a devotional attitude and think of God as a personal God. So, and the number of sadhus, what is the percentage of sadhus in India? It'll be tiny. You think of the numbers and the numbers of people that there are, it'll be a very small number. And yet it gets such prominence because the teachings are so important. And again, just like Karma Yoga, not that Thakur is against it, it's an exclusive practice of Jnana Yoga. That means everything is mental, everything is analysis. Everything is observing the mind. He said most people won't be able to do it. So he didn't say forget about it. He said combine it. Jnana Mishra Bhakti. That was that idea. To Bankim. Some people think that God cannot be realized without the study of books and scriptures. Now, when he says some people, he says, I know that you're one of those people. So he's going to push some of Bankim's buttons now also. Yeah. They think that first of all, one should learn of this world and its creatures. That first of all, one should study science. He knew that English word. He knew a handful of words in English. So he said that in science and everybody laughed. They think that one cannot realize God without first understanding his creation. Which comes first? He's asking Bankim. Science or God? What do you say? Bankim. Now, Bankim, to his credit, is honest. He's going to give his real opinion here. Bankim. I too think that we should first of all know about the different things of the world. How can we know of God without knowing something of this world? We should first learn from books. Master. That's the one cry from all of you. Now, what does he mean, all of you? Oh, you highly educated, Western educated, big shots who are writing books and giving lectures, without doing any real spiritual practice and getting a big name for yourself. Yeah, all of you people. Yeah, that's the one cry from all of you. But God comes first, and then the creation. After attaining God, you can know everything else if it is necessary. Then I'll give this example. If you can somehow get yourself introduced to Jadu Malik. Yeah, these two Maliks, they weren't related, but Jadu Malik and Shambhu Malik are used as examples throughout the gospel. The Jadu Malik, he had that garden house just south of the Dakshинeshwar temple. Thakur used to walk there and visit with him. Very, very wealthy man. Very wealthy. A lot of properties and things. If you can somehow get yourself introduced to Jadu Malik, then you will be able to learn, if you want to, the number of his houses and gardens and the amount of his money invested in government securities. Jadu Malik himself will tell you all about them. But if you haven't met him, and if you were stopped by his doorkeepers when you try to enter his house, then how will you get the correct information about his houses, gardens, and government securities? When you know God, you know all else, but then you don't care to know small things. Yeah. So he's saying all of these things that we're so curious about, that how did this world come into existence? Why is this like it is? All of that. That he said, yeah, you really want to know, realize God, then you can ask God. Then he says, well, if you realize God, you won't care. So when you know God, you know all else. Now, how do we know all else? Not individual things. We know, they say by knowing gold, we know all the ornaments made of gold. Doesn't mean we know every possible design of every possible piece of jewelry. When you know God, you know all else, but then you don't care to know small things. The same thing is stated in the Vedas. For Thakur, Vedas meant the Upanishads also. You talk about the virtues of a person as long as you haven't seen him, but no sooner does he appear before you than all such talk stops. You are beside yourself with joy simply to be with him. You feel overwhelmed by simply conversing with him. You don't talk about his virtues anymore. Yeah. So this idea that realize God, then you'll be able to find out all the secrets. Who will care at that time? First, realize God. Then think of the creation and other things. Valmiki was given the name of Rama to repeat as his mantra, but was told at first to repeat Mara. The story, Valmiki, the author of the Ramayana, he in order to feed his family, he took to being a highwayman, robber, a dacoit, something like that. Yeah. And at one point, he was asked that, well, how about your family members? They know how you earn your living. He said, yeah. He says, are they willing to take this karma, bad karma of your stealing? He said, well, yeah, I think so. And they asked, they all said no, but that's only for you. So mine had a little turn, and then this I don't know who was the guru that came?
No.
Narada. So Narada came to him, and then Narada saw that this Valmiki is somebody special. He's destined to write this Ramayana, and he knows that still he doesn't have the mindset to be able to repeat the name Rama. So this is the trick: Mara, 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 Rama. It becomes Rama. You tell him to repeat Mara, Mara, then it becomes Rama. So that was his trick. So Valmiki was given the name of Rama to repeat as a mantra, but was told at first to repeat Mara. Ma means God, and Ra the world. So it's an interesting way of saying first God, then the world. First God, and then the world. If you know one, you know all. If you put 50 zeros after a one, you have a large sum, but erase the one and nothing remains. So this world has value to us if we have that spiritual understanding. If it's just for enjoyment and pleasure, then there's no substance to it. Yeah.
There is another point here. This Mara, like in Bengali, it is meant like a dead body.
A dead body, yeah, can be also, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that is the first thing. Like
yeah, he could kill people even as a
he used to kill
highwaymen and
people.
everything. Yeah,
So he could
yeah. So
ask
repeating,
them
yeah,
Mara, like,
right.
that will care about.
It is the one that makes the many. First one and then many. First God and then his creatures and the world. The one thing you need is to realize God. Why do you bother so much about the world, creation, science, again, using the English, and all that? Your business is to eat mangoes. Now, this is where Sri Ramakrishna is very much in agreement with Buddhist philosophy. Yeah. You get shot with the arrow. Don't bother who shot it, where it came from, all this and that. Try to remove it. Your business is to eat mangoes. What need have you to know how many hundreds of trees there are in the orchard, how many thousands of branches, and how many millions of leaves? You have come to the garden to eat mangoes. Go and eat them. Man is born in this world to realize God. It is not good to forget that and divert the mind to other things. You have come to eat mangoes. Eat the mangoes and be happy. Bankim. Where do we get the mangoes, Master? Yeah, he's being smart. Yeah, just being a little smart. Pray to God with a longing heart. He will surely listen to your prayer if it is sincere. Perhaps he will direct you to holy men. Now another button will be pushed, with whom you can keep company, and that will help you on your spiritual path. Perhaps someone will tell you, do this and you will attain God. Bankim. Who? The Guru. See, they also didn't like this Guru idea. These are highly educated people who go either go to some other guy to tell me what to do. I can figure out what to do. Who then? Guru? He enjoys all the mangoes himself and gives us the bad ones. Laughter. Yeah, half being funny, half being smart. I don't really understand why. He'll get a little bit humble after this. Not much, a little bit more. Master. Why should that be so? The mother knows what food suits the stomachs of her different children. Can all of them digest palau and kalia? These are some rich in dishes. Suppose a fish has been procured. The mother doesn't give palau and kalia to all the children, but for the weak child with the poor stomach, she prepares a simple soup. Macha jhol. But does that mean she loves him the less? One must have faith in the Guru's words. The Guru was none other than Satchidananda. God himself is the Guru. Anyhow, it's time to stop. We'll begin at the top of page 673 because this is a bit of a new topic and it's very important, this idea of the Guru. But it's interesting to see how people like Bankim and Vidyasagar, they consider themselves good Hindus. But some of these basic ideas with the Guru and realizing God for all of that, they had just been, I don't want to say brainwashed, but influenced so much by Western thinking. Okay, so we're going to stop here. We'll begin next time at the top of page 673. Om Niranjanam Nityamanantarupam Bhaktanukham Bhatvavigraham Vai Ishavataram Parameshamidhyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirasa Namama. We bow our heads before Sri Ramakrishna, who is stainless, of infinite nature, whose heart melts in sympathy for his devotees, who is an embodiment of the divine and the Supreme Lord, and ever worthy of our worship. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto you. Okay, thank you, everyone. And we will meet again next Friday.